Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Mike and David and Zach and John Bushfacts Bushman. So my question to you guys today is, what are you drinking?
I have a Southern Charm Sour Ale with peaches, raspberries, lactose, and vanilla. It was a birthday gift from my wife, and it's actually delicious.
That sounds pretty fruity. Vanilla? I don't know.
Oh boy! All right, I'm drinking water,
I've got my Adepticon beer glass so for those that got a bunch of Adepticon swag, the 18 on the glass, I just learned, is not the year. That is the number of the convention. So they're not sending you old crap. It is in fact from this year. It is not the year. It's the number. So useful tidbit there. John, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking coffee, and it is. Let me just say, these drinks are not up to Critical X standards.
Yeah, so this is actually you guys. You have a podcast, Critical X.
Yeah, sure.
Occasionally, bi-monthly, every 2 months or so, right?
Something like that.
That's pretty generous.
Yeah, that might be generous. Yeah. You also are the quote unquote stats guy, so dubbed by Bell of Lost Souls, because they couldn't bother to figure out what your name was apparently. And then, Bushfacts is your other nickname because you are the man of stats. So,
yes.
Tell us about yourself a little bit.
My actual name is John Bushman. I'm from Arizona. And I've been playing Legion just about since launch. I'm a Rebel player, one of the few remaining Luke players of it, I guess. Apparently no one likes to run Luke anymore.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's about it. I really like data and bringing data to people. So that's what I do.
So, and people don't know this. Well, some people know this, but you are also part of the Fifth Trooper Network officially. So,
yes,
you're our stats guy, so to speak.
This is true. This is a fact.
So we
would you say it's a Bush fact?
Wait, aren't you supposed to leave the dad jokes to the dads, Mike?
Look, nobody jumped in, so I had to make up for the.
He's practicing. He's warming up the engine.
Yeah.
Got to cycle that turbine on sometime.
So you did a bunch of data analysis for Invader League single elims, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But before we do that, we got some news.
Welcome to In the News.
So, you guys got some actual plastic in your hands?
Indeed.
By that I mean like new plastic from FFG.
They finally hit the stores, baby.
Yeah, so I got my AAT, my vital assets, Cassian and Iden all in the mail this weekend. It's a good weekend.
You bought Iden? What?
I bought Iden. What? I play Empire still.
Man.
The only faction I don't play is Republic.
I got an Iden, and I don't even buy her Imperials ever. I think she's a cool sculpt. I don't know about her. I think her face is not the greatest of sculpts, but the helmet's awesome. So yeah, I actually have Iden myself and have no Imperials to go with her, but it's all right.
I have an Imperial pilot helmet related story.
Ooh.
The first ever thing I bought with any store tournament winnings was a TIE Pilot Funko Pop with a giant helmet, and so Aiden's giant TIE Fighter helmet reminds me of that event. But yeah, I mean, I dig that sculpt just for the helmet, man. That's sick.
I actually, so I originally assembled my Iden with the helmet, and as I was sitting there watching it dry, I was like, this helmet is just way too big. so,
But it is.
so I unglued it before the glue set, and I put the unhelmeted version on because I was just like, I don't know, she's kind of like a bowling ball up there.
If you look at the photos from the productions of New Hope, they do, the helmets just make the bodies look so small, and it's sort of like, well, I guess that's okay. I mean, TIE fighters aren't exactly the roomiest vehicle, so it makes sense that like generally smaller bodied persons would be flying the fighters. So I guess, I don't know, you can canon it in your head however you wish, but I think it makes sense. Like, it looks oversized, but yes, it's on purpose because it matches what they've been given, I think, from the show or from the movies.
I'm certainly not saying that it's not like up to snuff. I just I personally didn't like the aesthetic once I got it on there. I was like, nope, we're putting a real head on here.
Yeah, I think Daniel Roberts from Legion Outriders actually posted on the Legion Facebook group that the helmet is actually the right size. I think he took like a bunch of pictures and like showed that it was actually like correct scale wise. But yeah, I can understand what you mean. It does look a little goofy when you assemble it.
Yeah, I saw people like posting memes with Dark Helmet from Spaceballs under the.
Oh man,
it's not that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't. She has such a small frame; it doesn't help. But that is like, I mean, I think it's canon accurate based on the sizing and stuff. I'm probably gonna do her also without a helmet, partially because I like painting faces because I don't get to do it very often. But yeah,
you trying to say those droids don't have faces?
I mean, they got robot faces. It's not the same. You don't have to like blend a robot face. You just throw some brown ink on it and call it a day. Yeah. So that's super exciting. It's not clear what / when the next releases will be, but it seems like at least things are up and running again. So I put let's do some quick housekeeping, and then we can actually do a little brief hobby progress. We talked last week about some Scoundrels items, order tokens, and silhouettes and stuff. They're slightly delayed via customs, but they should be in by the end of the week-ish, or maybe next Monday. So if you're waiting on those Scoundrels order tokens, I apologize. They're sitting around. It'll be just about a week. We also have a bunch of new stuff. We have new 3x3 mats for there's like space mats. So, for games like Armada, X-Wing, Legion Skirmish, which you wouldn't play in space, but we have 3x3 mats that are not space. Also ocean mats for games like Oak and Iron. So yeah, a bunch of new stuff, new mats up on the site. Check that out, thefifthtrooper.com. We also are starting to expand into actual hobby materials like basing items from a variety of manufacturers. So check those out. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's about right. Yeah, I mean, those C mats could be good for a certain cloning facility planet, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and you could put like a space platform on the space mats. It'll be great. I don't know. I'm thrilled about this because I wanted us to do like Armada and X-Wing mats from the get-go, and now we're doing them. So I'm really pumped about it.
Okay, cool. Well, let's move on briefly to hobby progress.
Get out your brush and paint. It's hobby time.
That drop is so happy-go-lucky.
It reminds me of something you'd get like see in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Simpsons, Jetsonish, family sitcom kind of cartoon family sitcom.
Yeah. Yeah, I put an AAT together.
How was that?
It was not bad. Man, the thing is big. Like, I mean, I know everybody's saying that, but holy crap. Um, there's a lot of like interesting little greebles and other gubbins, to borrow a 40k term on it, that like really make you appreciate how much thought they put into it. You know, like just tiny little railings and thrusters and other little gizmos that you're gluing onto this thing. You know, and there's some options with whether to put a pilot in there or not, whether to have the hatch open or closed. I'm going to try and magnetize the turret so I can rotate it. At the moment that bit is unglued, it is like, it doesn't even fit on the base. Like it hangs over the backside of the base quite significantly. So yeah, it's going to be interesting using that thing physically on a table. But yeah, it looks impressive. I'm super excited to paint it. So that was my hobby progress.
Someone on the Legion Facebook server. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
No, I was gonna say, does Kyle have a paint scheme in mind? Because I know his airspeeder is like a white blue and it's fantastic, but you gonna stick to like the tan color or?
Probably. What was the thing that you saw, David?
Oh, I mean, if I ever buy an AAT, I want to pick up this. This guy made a Jar Jar model, which hangs on the barrel of the turret. So I would totally run my AAT with that Jar Jar hanging on.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do A. That's hilarious. B. I think I'm gonna do probably like the just the bone white / tan to go with the rest of my B1s are bone white / tan, and then do like a blue, some kind of blue highlights somewhere. I haven't quite figured that out. I'm sure there's like a cannon scheme that I'm gonna mangle for that. But yeah, it'll be some kind of bone white / blue situation.
You think you'll do the torpedo scorch marks from the front?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna weather the crap out of it. That's the most fun part of painting vehicles is the weathering. And I used to play orcs for 40k, so weathering vehicles is it's a favorite pastime of mine. So yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. It's a welcome distraction from my horde of B1s. Which I'm still not done with.
Just sick of it.
Yeah. So.
Speaking of horde of B1s, don't you have like a horde of rats over there, David?
Oh yeah, I just finished a commission from a friend to paint 60 clan rats for his army for Age of Sigmar, and so I finally finished it. And you know, there was a little bit of suffering involved, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like, you know, maybe I grew as a painter, maybe I just got faster. You know, sometimes you just got to spend time on the table and just drill it out and get better at a technique. You know. So it's definitely not a waste. It might have been painful in some parts, but hey, you know, I think I did okay. I think I maybe improved.
Yeah,
But they're finally done though. Anyway, go on, Zach.
No, I was gonna say I noticed that like when I go on like tangents of painting, I get so much faster, and then like if I take like a week or two off, I feel so slow.
Right? You're like, man, I was blazing, you know, a minute ago here. Like, what happened? But no, it's been fun. I mean, the part that's really the hard part for me is basing everything because I don't have an airbrush. I do everything by hand, and so like actually getting the base colors like clean enough for me, and I think this really taught me the value of just getting it right the first time and really watching where your point is going. And really like the fineness of the point is really crucial. Like you can have a huge brush with a very fine point and still paint tiny things. You just have to get the point on target, and that's really where it's involved in like stabilizing your hand. And then like I did like tiny eyes and teeth on these things, and so it's like you just have to, you know, maybe stabilize your breath a little bit when you're doing the tiny stuff, and try not to shake too much if at all possible. Like your level of caffeination definitely affects your ability to do like eyes and things like that. Like if you're over caffeinated, you might have trouble doing that because you might be a little bit jittery. Yeah, it's been an interesting experience, and I'm sure we can produce at some point some kind of tutorial video, maybe for this sort of thing if people are interested in it. But otherwise, I think I'm glad to have it off my table, and maybe I'll get back to painting some Star Wars here once my move to Florida is complete.
Yeah, I can't say I share the same thing. I painted Cassian and K2 up pretty quickly this weekend. I didn't think I'd get them both done, but I did. K2 is like a really fun model to paint. Like once you get like your color scheme, you kind of just like slap it on, and then you just highlight them quickly, and you're like, well, K2's done. I kind of kind of wish I could do that more often, but it's funny. I posted a picture and I got like like some questions on like how I got his paint to look like a bluish like gray, and then I just showed people these paints. I'm like, don't ask me for a ratio, just mix and hope for the best, because that's what I did. I didn't measure anything. I was like, all right, let's just do this, and it came out. For me, it came out great. I find myself to be an amateur painter, and I'm actually really happy with how my K2 came out.
What colors did you use? Do you remember the names?
Yeah, Steel Abaddon Green or something like that, which is the Citadel paint. Then
That doesn't sound like a color.
It is.
That's because it's Steel Abaddon, right?
Steel Abaddon.
Okay.
That's what it is.
All
Steel
right.
Abaddon Green. I used.
It sounds like three colors I know.
A bat. I used Abaddon. I used Abaddon black.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a color.
Then I
That's a
used somber gray. And then I used a silver metallic to try and get like metallic like flakes in there.
Uh-huh.
If that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, to get the little flakes.
Yeah. But yeah, don't quote me on those names.
I think that's really cool, by the way, mixing metallic and non-metallic just to get the sheen. I think that's a really neat technique.
Yeah, it's very subtle, but like when you look at the model closely, you can kind of see it,
Yeah.
I did highlight with some yellow though. I think the K2 model really pops when you get like his underarms to kind of have like that yellow that he had in the movie.
Yeah, those like rings, the rings on the shoulder joint and the elbows. Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've seen a lot with metallics, with like painting tutorials and stuff, is people mixing it with other colors to get a little bit of a sheen. So that's I might have to try that. I was trying to figure out how to do something similar with my K2 to get that bluish metal look. So, Mike, did you get any hobby stuff done?
I put Iden together, and I finished putting together the Daily Bugle from Marvel Crisis Protocol. So
the Daily Bugle, like the newspaper,
like the newsstand.
Yes.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
So it there's a bunch of terrain that comes in the core box. It's actually a lot, to be honest. There's like 2 cars, like the Daily Bugle newsstand, and a bunch of like traffic lights and lampposts and stuff, because like a big part of that game is like destructible terrain, and like Hulk can throw stuff around, and so the terrain is, I think, included in the box to facilitate some of the mechanics, which I think is really cool. But yeah, so I finished assembling all of that, and now I have more unpainted stuff.
I would just play Hulk and try to toss cars at people, honest to goodness, if I played that game.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit... So I made a pact with myself that I would not purchase any more Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff until I painted the entirety of the core set, because I have a ton of Legion models that are unpainted. And as soon as I made that pact, Adepticon sent me Hulk and Venom.
Nice. Yeah, I know.
That's great.
So I too will be attempting to throw massive cars around, probably a lot sooner than I had anticipated, because I was not planning on buying it until I finished painting all this stuff. But here we are.
I was disappointed that Hulk was not a core character, but I think it just makes sense that he wouldn't be in the core set, because he's just such a unique thing, and he's just really cool. And
yeah,
it makes total sense that he's an X-Pac. Same with like MODOK, that kind of flying brain looking villain guy. Yeah,
Hulk is a ton of fun in the game. He can like throw fire truck size things. It's great.
I'm really looking forward to it. I know that you and Dustin were kind of like messing around with it the other day. How'd that go?
Yeah, I've played probably like 5 games since then, just trying to learn the rules and figure out what characters I like. And Hulk is definitely one of my favorites. He just he gets obviously stronger every time he gets hurt, and then just destroys everything. There's mechanics you can use that Hulk can throw one of your own teammates to like help them get more to grab an objective real quick or something. That's a lot of
Sounds
fun.
like friendly force push is what that sounds like.
Friendly force throw. It's insane.
He's gonna like, here, let me just chuck you over here and see if you are alive enough to do something.
Yeah.
Do you get hurt when Hulk throws you, even a friendly throw? Does that happen?
No, you only get hurt when you get thrown into a wall or into another character.
Oh, okay.
So if you throw out into the open, then you're fine.
Tuck and roll.
Yeah,
tuck and roll. That's right.
Superhero tuck and roll. Yeah, there you go. they're like flying squirrels. They never actually hit terminal velocity.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our tournament section for Mr. Bushman.
Get ready for advanced tactics.
So, Invader League single eliminations starts officially Tuesday, which will be the day that you are listening to this podcast. So there was a reveal show of the bracket, which Mike did on Sunday. It's pretty awesome. Check out that VOD if you want to catch the bracket and the lists, which I don't think are posted to the site at the moment. So that is the place to see them.
Literally the only place you can see people's lists. It's fantastic. Thanks for that, Zach. I appreciate it.
It was a Ponzi scheme. Well, not really a Ponzi scheme, but it was a scheme I was not really planning, but it worked out.
Yeah, it's not a Ponzi scheme, but
no, it's not. For some reason, it was fresh in my mind, and I'm like, that's not how that works.
Can we also just thank Mike and Mike, because it's both Mike Berry and Mike Cirillo were hosting, so it was Mike squared.
Double Mike.
No, it was fun. I had a lot of fun with it. Honestly, the putting together the PowerPoint was more work than I thought it was going to be. But whatever. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so there's 64 players in single elims. To advance the single elims, basically you had to go. You had to place either first or second in a group of 6 people in your round robin stage. So tournament started with 192, and now we're down to 64, and now this is like a March Madness style bracket. So actually, if you want to make a bracket prediction, there is a challenge bracket posted on the Discord, and anyone can go on there and make a prediction. And there is a 5th Trooper mat to the first place, and then some 5th Trooper sidebars to the second place, and there's also last place prize, right, Zach?
So no, it's actually first place gets a mat, and the last place is the sidebars.
Okay.
And those were actually not even donated by us, the 5th Trooper. They were donated by a community member, Andrew Hall. So I want to thank him while we're on the cast for doing that. He's very adamant of wanting to give prize support, and the bracket challenge is a perfect place for that.
Certainly is. I'm excited to see some of these brackets. It's always fun when you can turn Legion into March Madness.
Yeah, I think we started doing this 2 seasons ago. I can't remember if I mentioned it to LJ or LJ mentioned it to me, and then we kind of made it a thing, and here we are still doing it, season 5. It's weird how much fun it is, but it really is. Since I'm TO, I'm not sure if I should fill one out, but I kind of want to. So.
I mean, it's not like you have any sort of inside information or anything. It's 64 players. Everybody's list is out there. Anyway, let's hit some stats. So before we get to the actual stats, John, I think the way that you pull these so quickly is pretty impressive. So do you want to talk about your process briefly, real quick?
Yeah, sure. So I've actually just recently, I'm almost done revamping my entire process, moving it out of Excel and into SQL database and Python to actually run the calculations. So one of the reasons why, or actually the main reason why we're always so adamant at all these tournaments to get URLs from players, specifically Legion HQ or Tabletop Admiral URLs, is because those list builders, they actually encode into the URL. If you haven't noticed, every single card that you're bringing is encoded into that URL. So I can, I've written a script that can reverse engineer that. It can take those coded URLs and map them to the actual units and actual upgrade cards and command cards and battle cards, and then it tags it and stores it in my SQL database. That's the first script. The second script goes back into the database now that I've got these saved, and it joins them up. It matches point values to them. It matches names to them. It matches ranks to them, upgrade types, anything that I'm wanting to present. And then now I've got a website that will go live maybe by the end of the week. This website then takes all those metrics and presents it in a user-friendly fashion, showing like faction counts as a pie chart, or bar graphs where you could look at all the rebel officers that were brought and what upgrades they took, or you could see pie charts of which objective cards were brought, or even meta lists, where I've defined a couple different we've actually defined together, me with the 5th Trooper guys here. We've defined a couple of meta lists that are like commonly taken units and upgrades, and this script also just tracks how many of those lists fit into those categories, and so you could see cool information about those as well.
That's awesome. So like essentially the all those letters and numbers and stuff that you see in those URLs, those are associated with specific things, and your script pulls all of those things out and just spits out all that data from the list URLs.
Yeah.
And this this site that you will have up at some point, also super interesting. I've seen drafts of it. I think people are going to really like it. Let's hit just a high level faction breakdown, like with numbers, and then we'll go faction by faction, and maybe you can tell us some stats for each faction that are interesting. So of the 64 lists in single elims, there are 20 clone players, 20 rebel players, 14 droid players, and 10 Imperial players.
It's a good mix.
Yeah, it's a good mix. Imperial's a little low on that totem pole there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. We had fun in the single limbs Discord joking around when they got one more guy. I was like, there's like only like 8 for like the longest time, and then we joked around that they jumped up to 10 when that happened. But yeah, it's interesting to see that there's only 10. But other than that, it's pretty balanced across the board, right? 20, 14, which is good to see.
John, I'm sure you don't have this in front of you. Do you know what the maybe I'm only asking this question if you do. Do you know what like the overall faction breakdown was for round robin?
Ooh, no, because
Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry for springing that one on you.
No, I can switch to it, but I don't
Okay.
have that up yet.
Okay, let's park that one for a moment. Let's hit rebels first.
So, John, why don't we'll look at the numbers for the rebellion here. These are kind of interesting. There are some non-surprises, but there are some surprises. Why don't you give us a little brief rundown of what got through in the rebel department here?
Yeah. So rebels. Let's see. Pulling that up. Well, sadly, there are only 4 Commander Lukes and 3 Operative Lukes, which I don't know what players are thinking anymore. But not surprisingly at all, there are 14 Cassians out of the 20 rebel lists.
Wow, that is some pretty high representation there
Yeah,
for
with
Cassian and during K2SO.
only a single Cassian list without K2SO. So 13 K2SOs there. 13 R2D2s following right behind him. And then even 4 Jin Ursos. But surprisingly, there's only, 3 Leias? That's a big change from what Rebel lists used to be.
I mean, what do you think explains that? Do you think like is the speed one move on the 2-pip just not enough these days? Like I don't think her cards got worse necessarily.
No, they definitely didn't, and people are still running Tauntauns. Tauntauns are the most taken support or heavy unit from. Is it from anyone? Yeah, from anyone with 21 Tauntauns in this 64 player tournament. And
Wow.
yeah, so I'm guessing maybe just they're focusing on Cassian. So for Gar, that was my concern. That was why I wanted to bring Cassian. Was his long range sniper is invaluable against those highly defensive Republic units.
Right. Plus, it's like with K2 in tow, it's really not hard to get a bunch of aims on the guy and just convert a bunch of critical hits.
Right.
So it's pretty reliable.
He doesn't always deliver a ton of hits, but he's extremely consistent. And with Gar not having a ton of health, just having high quality health, yeah, Cassian's fantastic against them.
So it's really just a question of return on investment, you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't you talk about the support spread? Because I think there's some interest there. We saw virtually the same thing happen in LVO that's happening in single eliminations in terms of how the supports are divided up.
How do you mean about the fact that ATRTs are also crazy abundant?
But they have like equal representation practically, and
Yeah,
we saw this 50-50 split at LVO, and so the fact that hasn't changed is of interest, I think.
it is very interesting. There's 18 ATRTs compared to the 21 Tauntauns, and they aren't even all. Let's see, I had them up here.
I noticed that both of these numbers are multiples of 3.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that has any significance.
There's a lot of them that aren't triple ATRT, but we did get several flamethrowers and several laser cannons ATRTs in there.
Now that I didn't expect. What do you think the resurgence of flamers and lasers means? Because I know the rotaries are kind of dominant here in this spread, right? There's like some huge number of rotaries compared to the other 2. But I guess like, what speculation would you make there?
So I'm guessing there's 2 ATRT flamethrowers, and I don't think it's a coincidence that there's also 2 comms jammers on the ATRTs. I think those 2 came together, and I think they're trying to mess up some droids.
Oh man, flame jammers is like ostensibly that's real good. Like that's the droids are gonna have to rely on like rocket troopers to take them down, or maybe even Grievous.
Yeah, but who brings rocket troopers?
Well,
a lot of people actually.
Yeah, really? A lot of people. If you're droids, yeah, the rocket troops are actually kind of common because they pair so well with uplinks.
B1s. We have. I'm not seeing any. Which was that the 60R?
Throw down some knowledge on you.
Yeah,
it's the 60R. I mean, I know for a fact that Lupo brought them.
So there's 6 total E60Rs, and this out of the 14 Separatist lists.
So they're not common.
Yeah, out of 75 B1 droids, 6 of them have the E60R. So I think the flamers are all right in that respect.
Yeah, the flamers might actually get some traction with that kind of ratio.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually pretty good.
I feel like that should be higher. Just personally, as a CIS player, it was a really tough call to
The
whether to bring the rockets or
E6DR?
not. Yeah.
To leave it at home. Yeah, that's
Yep.
a tough call. Because it just rounds you out, right? Because it's cheap impact, which is the dream, right? And it's cheap impact that doesn't screw up your order pool.
Well, and you typically put them on. It's common for Separatist players to run 2 uplinks on their B1s, and you typically just have like 2 rockets and you put them on your uplink squads because they tend to recover a lot anyway. So
You're only paying how many more points for the E6DR versus the E5C?
2.
Wow,
Oh.
what a deal!
Yeah.
What a deal! Holy moly! And the dice aren't bad, right? It's like red. What is it? Red, black, black, or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Gosh, what a
Okay,
deal!
that's surprising. Yeah.
good. See, it's good.
Hey, listen, we are on a different white dice throwing faction, okay? Let's get back to the rebels.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's
Oh,
bad.
right.
So can you
talking
just talk
about
about this?
rebels.
Can you just talk about the special forces spread real quick because it's
Oh,
hilarious.
God. Special forces on the rebels. Yeah, so there are 50 rebel strike teams, and there's a single Pathfinder.
And no Wookiees.
No, oh, right. There's another special force. No Wookiees.
This is a tragedy.
And no full commandos either, by the looks of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a tragedy.
Oh,
Pathfinders
geez.
are good.
What about the droid attack on the Wookiees?
Apparently the droids won.
Never happened.
You know
There's
what
no
I see here?
Wookiees.
We can just keep going back to the droids.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. There's more interesting things to talk about than the fact that there's 50 Rebel strike teams in single eliminations. There's 2 T-47s though, which is actually more than the number of Pathfinders and Wookiees, which is kind of surprising.
Oh,
But I
God.
guess there's a lot of range 1 threats out there, right? There's Dooku and Grievous, and the T-47's like, nah, you can't actually hurt me because I'm immune to melee.
That is true.
I think it's one guy running both T-47s for the record.
Really?
He's running. So Pilot Paul, I think is his Discord handle. He's running 2 T-47s and 2 Tauntauns.
That is accurate.
That's actually not a bad list.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's leaning into vital assets basically. Like, think of that list with bombing run.
Yeah, it's
Yuck.
awesome. We'll score a bombing run in like the end of round 2 or something. Like, it's really quick. The T-47 can really move. Speed through at a large base with the speeder. You go far, man. Nothing really stops you because you have speeder too. So you're like, whatever. I just ignore this terrain that's in my way.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess the story of Rebels is like there's some usual suspects. Luke is falling off, continuing to fall off. He's been kind of falling off, for a while now, but he's still hanging on. Still hanging on a little bit.
I gotta agree with John on this one. People not running Luke are crazy.
I kind of agree. I think Luke is way underestimated.
Yeah,
Especially
I sort of feel like
Luke.
people are on the new hotness. Speaking of new hotnesses, not having people like even remotely try. John, could you tell us a little bit about the Imperial spread of operatives in this league?
Yeah, Imperial operatives. Let's see. We have 7 Idens. We have 4 Bosks. And then we have a couple of Krennics. And there's even 2 Boba Fett's. But there's not a single Darth Vader. Operative Vader, that is.
I am disappointed in everyone. I'm disappointed. I'm not even going to rant about it. I want all the listeners to know that I am disappointed in all of our Imperial players. Operative Vader is sweet. He's sick nasty. He needs some more representation. So, what other sweet numbers you got about the 10 Imperials that are coming to dominate the galaxy in single elims?
Well, these Imperials, obviously focusing strike teams like every other faction. They did bring a couple Death Troopers. They got 5 of them, and then, not surprising anyone, their main core units are shore troopers paired with mortars, coming in at 18 and 19 each.
Gotcha. Did we see like stormtroopers and snowtroopers make any sort of resurgence this time?
So compared to the 18 and 19, there's 8 stormtroopers and a singular snowtrooper.
Okay. So
No.
yeah. All right. And how are we doing on Imperial armor? Is that looking like it's
No. The graph maxes it out at, but that's because the most that they have is 2. So there's 2 bikes, 2 tanks, single ATST, and a single dewback.
okay? I don't consider it dewback a unit, so you can
Wow.
Oh, you can just leave that out all your stats.
I assume that's Stabcast.
Yeah, it's Tim. Tim Cinderella Hannon.
I think he's got the bikes too.
He does.
Oh God.
I don't consider a dewback a unit. It's going down in history, man.
Hey, I'm just telling it how I sees it. You know.
Well, apparently more people consider dewback a unit versus Operative Vader.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
God.
Yeah, I know. That's why. It's bull. That's all I got to say. Man. So you want to go ahead and take the wheel on some droids now that we've done talking about rebels and Imperials?
Yeah, John, you want to tell us about the Separatist spread?
Yeah, so we've got a fairly even Grievous and Dooku spread. There's 8 Grievous and 6 Dooku. The core units are uninspiring. There's 75 B1s and 6 B2s. There's a ton of. We did get 4 full BX squads compared to the 25 strike teams. And then I'm surprised in this next one that there are in fact 11 STAP riders and 4 AATs.
Yeah, that's I mean, I'm actually not super surprised by the STAPs. They're to the extent that, like, you know, in the realm of biker units, they're quite good. You know, they can relay orders to each other. They're relatively cheap. They have a strong dice pool, so yeah, and a couple like notable players too are bringing the STAPs. Ellis Priestley from the UK is one of them, and Garn, who's also Garnanana, who's also playing CS, I think is bringing STAPs. So this isn't just like random people bringing STAPs. So yeah, and it's, you see them too. I was looking at some of these STAP lists. It's in like 2s mostly. There are a couple like triple STAP lists, but mostly it's in 2s, and you know, just as like a bombing run hedge / to go after strike teams and stuff, basically.
Okay. Makes sense. His vital assets helped him out a bit.
I think so. I mean, they're not even technically out yet, so it's like Vital Assets is released before they are, but Vital Assets is, you know, helps vehicles a little bit and fast units more specifically. Like Vital Assets
Right.
breaks up the gun line play. So, you know, now Separatists have a tool, hypothetically, that can do that. So, what about the 4 AATs? How does that compare to heavies across like the rest of the factions? Is the AAT the most represented heavy?
It is. Yeah, after that, the T-47 comes next with the T-47, the Saber tank, and the Gav all appeared twice compared to the 4 AATs.
I would never have imagined the T-47 would be tied for the second most popular heavy.
Dreams do come true.
I
So
mean,
actually,
I kind of get it. Sorry, I'm just gonna take a little time here, just really briefly. I kind of get it, because if you can catch droids out of cover, the T-47 is one of those units in the rebel side that has a big enough dice pool to actually kill a significant number. And I think that's kind of the thing. Like a lot of rebel units are centered around like pierce and chip damage, and that just does not work against B1s. And so I could see the T40. I could see some logic behind that.
It's 6 dice though. Like I
Yeah,
don't know. I
6
don't
dice,
think
but
that's a huge deal.
they're reds and blacks, and it's like it's out of cover, right? So
Yeah.
you
So
still
it's
have a
no
pretty decent
surge.
chance of doing some stuff.
So it's like black dice with surge, is what it feels
Yeah,
like.
yeah. At the end of the day, yeah. But if you get lucky, I
Yeah.
guess if
So
you get lucky, you can do anything in this game.
Yeah, if you get 140 points lucky.
so
True.
let's hit. I want to talk about the strikes real quick. How many strikes were there
For Imperial or for Separatist,
Separatists?
25 strikes.
So is that the lowest, like on a percentage basis, of all 4 factions?
That no. Oh no. No. Oh, on a percentage base? Probably, yeah, because Imperials have a lot fewer lists.
Yeah, because that's the same as Imperials, but you only have 10 Imperials versus 14.
Right. Right.
It's interesting. They're really good, but I think just as personally as a Separatist player, they're harder to take as a 3 of, just because of AI and managing your order pool and stuff. But
Oh, okay. So you think they're being taken in onesies and twosies?
I think mostly twosies. I'm running 2 strikes and 1 full, and it seems like at least 3 other people are doing that. I have seen some 3 strikes, but I think a lot of people are doing like 2 strikes and then 2 staps or something like that.
Okay.
Should we move
That's
on
fair.
to the last, but certainly not least faction?
But maybe the most boring.
Whoa.
Yeah, what is this about, man?
Yo,
Certainly
calm
not
down.
boring.
Well, when 18 out of 20 Republic lists have both Rex and R2D2, and 72 Phase 2s. 72. What is that? Yeah, that's 4 on average.
What it is almost the same number of B1s.
It is. That is surprise. Well, I'm actually surprised the B1's caught up to it, having only 14 lists compared to the 20. But that is an interesting comparison. That there's what were those numbers? There are 75 B1s and 72 Phase 2s.
Yeah, so that means there's 147 units that don't care about suppression.
Yes, that is accurate.
That's one way to look at it.
And then how about strikes and full arcs? Like, what are we looking at there?
Yeah, so strikes, there are 49 ARC Trooper strike teams, and then 8 full ARC teams. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that these newer factions, you're seeing a lot of the full units being used, which is good versatility as opposed to like commandos and scouts. You don't really see full units of those really.
Right. So one of the reasons why I said they were so boring is 9 of the lists can fit into the meta category that we've named Rex Star. Because 9 of them fit the. Let's see, what are the requirements here? 9 of them all have Rex, R2D2, at least 4 Phase 2s, and 3 arcs. Accounts for half of the Republic lists.
How many of those are completely identical?
I do not know.
I do.
Let's hear it.
5 of them are 100% identical
Oh, God.
down to the upgrade.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's kind of silly. We could actually get Luke Cook and Jace, aka ASAP, are both running said list, and they're in the top part of the bracket and could conceivably meet up in round 2. So we could get like an actual straight up 100% identical list mirror match in round 2.
Oh, geez.
Which is pretty rare, actually, right? Like it's really rare to have that happen because people put their own spins on things. There's a lot of variables that occur in this building.
Yeah, we've been calling them mirror lists when they're like just the same units or close to the same units, but these are down to
Right,
the
or like the same
upgrade.
commander. Yeah, but
Yeah,
this is like a full on true mirror where
yeah.
it's the same list being played against the same list.
This is literally the Spider-Man meme where they're just pointing at each other.
Right, they're pointing at each other.
Well, I think it's interesting to see if like Rexstar is the solve for the meta right now, right?
It'd be
I'm not
interesting.
sure it is, but you know, uh, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
I think it's just a crazy strong list that people haven't figured out yet.
Yeah,
With,
I'm in that camp, David, with you.
yeah, I think people haven't figured out how to play against it yet because it's really overwhelming. It's really really defensively efficient. It has a really strong alpha strike. Our troopers are like really good at murdering enemy sniper teams. So it
Yep.
just has a lot of. It's really strong in all departments.
Yep.
And I don't think people have figured out how to play or how to beat it yet or play around it yet.
So let's quickly. We only got a few minutes left with you, John. Let's hit. What can you tell us about bids?
So bids surprised me. I think bids surprised all of us. The average bids across all 64 lists is 7.7. With let's see, the Rebels and Imperials actually have the higher average bids, coming in at 9.8 for Rebels and 9.4 for Imperials, while Republic averages 5.4 and Separatist averages 6.7. So that means these Rebel and Imperial players are trying to bid for something more than the Republican Separatist players, which I would have thought would have been backwards.
I sort of feel like, not to continue to talk about Rexstar, but I feel like the Republic is skewing this pretty significantly, and that there are a lot of 800-point Republic lists that just, I think the players have decided they don't care about objectives because they're just gonna like blow you off the table.
That's fair.
Well, and so that's an interesting point. Those 5 identical lists we talked about earlier, all of those are 800 points. And I think it's not just that they rely on blowing you off the table, but clone gun lines are sort of uniquely good at objectives that gun lines aren't. Like hostage, for example, they're arguably the best faction / list at hostage exchange, which is not like notionally a gun line objective. Bombing run against them is surprisingly difficult because you need to last first to get a bomb in there. Stuff like that. So yeah, I don't think it's just that they rely on like tabling you, so to speak. I think they're legitimately good at quite a few of the quote unquote non-gun line objectives.
Okay.
And Zach and Mike as clone players, obviously you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my assessment of it.
No, they're just really good at everything. Is really what it comes down to. I found that as a clone player, I don't care what objective we're playing.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like when like Vital Assets came out, I kind of was like sweating it, and then once I started playing with clones, I'm kind of like, there's not really an objective that I'm afraid of, and if I'm playing 799 or 800 most of the time, and I don't really care.
John, do you have any other quick nuggets for us before you have to go?
There's nothing too interesting. No, I think I was looking at the battle card spreads and trying to see if there was any correlation to what people were bidding and what people were like cutting out of their battle decks. And without like saying too much, it surprised me that Republic and Separatist both seem to at least be focused on like Republic seem to be focused on four specific objectives and 4 specific conditions and 4 specific deployments. They're all cutting out practically the same cards, and while the ones that are bidding higher, the Rebels and Imperials, are kind of all over the place. Like they don't seem to have any common cards that they're all trying to get rid of. So that was interesting to me, at least.
Yeah, and I'll be super curious to see once you have actual like match data.
Yeah, yeah,
and stuff like that. That's going to be much more interesting. Not that the unit counts and stuff aren't interesting, but once you can start running up, faction X against faction Y, and factions or units A against unit B, etc. That's
right,
going to be super interesting.
right. I'm going to be starting to work on that for the round robin data here soon. Try and flesh out that process.
All right. Well, I know you have to bounce. So thanks for doing all that stat analysis. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point. And you said this is also going up on a website. Do you want to tell people where they can find that when it's up, or are you going to wait until it's
No,
actually up?
we're gonna wait. I think
Okay.
domain name is still in progress.
Okay, cool. I'm super excited for that. And thanks for coming on. When's the next Critical X podcast going to be out?
Don't worry about it. It'll come out when it comes out. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Sure, man. And stay safe where you are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's real quick close this out with some notable notable round one elims matchups. Mike, you did the bracket reveal show. You want to take this one away?
Yeah, so I think we've got a few to point out here. Let me see if I've even got times for these, because I think that may be a possibility. So the first one that kind of jumped off the page at me was Starscream versus Ellis. And Starscream is pretty big into vehicles. I believe you said Ellis is running Staps, if I'm recalling that correctly. So that should be a pretty fun matchup. I'm not sure that it doesn't look like it's been scheduled yet, but that's one to watch. We've also got Huntsman versus Thomas. Thomas, pretty notorious for his airspeeders. And I believe he's going to be playing Huntsman at 10 a.m. on June 14th, which is this Sunday coming up. So that should be a good one. And then another one we've got lined up here is Technophobia versus ASAP. And I don't think that one's been scheduled, but looking forward to that one too.
I heard some Scoundrels are playing too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be playing Nerferidian. I believe I've got his name down now. We actually just scheduled that a little bit ago, because he's in Sydney and I'm in Washington D.C. So our time slots are a little bit weird. Basically, we're gonna play at 8 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, which is 10 p.m. Saturday for him. But it was the best time slot that we could find to kind of battle it out. So that'll be fun. And Kyle, you got a game too, right?
Yeah, I think you're casting it, right?
I do. I was going to let you kind of pump it up, but
oh yeah. So so I'm facing Habmo on Friday at 9 Eastern, and he's running Jedi Luke Cassian, which is something very similar to what I would be running if I was playing Rebels right now. So, and I know Bushman actually likes that build also. So, and I'm running a Dooku Separatists with the full BX. So it should be good. I'm super glad I brought Dooku. I was waffling at the last moment. Grievous versus Dooku, and I almost brought Grievous, but I ended up going with my boy Dooku. So
you can't call him your boy anymore. For how long you waffled, like you have abandoned him. You are lucky he took you back.
I mean, your avatar is a waffle now.
That's true. Yes, I have a waffle in my Discord avatar. It was not a public waffle this time. You guys, I'm sure, are sick of me posting list ideas, but I didn't pull Facebook at least this time.
Well, no, what you did was you pulled like like I'm pretty sure there's like a scene where like Ventress comes like crawling back to Dooku. He was just basically shocking the crap out of you as you pleaded, like, please, I'm sorry.
That sounds about right. Well, Dooku took me back, so hopefully he's good to me. So yeah, that'll be good. I have never played Habmo before, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun and exciting. So 9 p.m. Eastern on Dash's TV on Friday.
Yipperoonies.
Any other plugs, David? Are you casting any games this week?
I am moving to Florida this week, but I will be casting full speed the week after this one.
All right, awesome.
So about the 15th or so, we'll probably be back online.
Cool.
I'm sad to miss the first week of Single Limbs because there's a lot of really cool games. There's like part of me wants to be like, okay, well, if I could just get ready by Sunday, I could probably cast Mitch Rakeen and Luke Cook or something like that. And that would be a cool welcome back game. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens. We'll see how long it takes us to drive across the country.
Oh man, that sounds awful.
It shouldn't be bad. My wife has done this like 4 times, so she's like my Sherpa because I've never done it before. So she's going to help me through this process because she is very experienced at it. She's done it from different directions too. She's gone from like New York to California to Florida and back. She's really good at this. So
Man,
Couldn't even imagine.
she's a champ then, because I'm like thinking about like driving across the country just once, and I'm like, oh my god, this is scary.
So I'm super lucky for a
Are
variety.
you guys like renting a vehicle or anything?
No, we're driving our car.
Because that's like my primary concern is like, oh man, my car is gonna break down or whatever. Not to like get you nervous about it.
Wow, you just jinxed the guy.
Well, we're just going to try not to do anything stupid and hope that the technology helps.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, good luck, man. And
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Anyone else got any plugs or anything?
There's just gonna be a lot of Dash's TV this week. Let me bring up my schedule. I believe I've got a game for Zodiac versus Sammy P at 1 p.m. Eastern. And I believe I have we already talked about it, or Kyle versus Habmo Friday. Probably going to pick up another game or two, so be on the lookout for that. So should be back into full stream mode now that Single Limbs is on. And I believe Mike Sorrell is going to be joining me Friday night for your game, Kyle. So that should be a fun party.
Awesome.
It just shows he's just sick of me popping in his streams.
Nah, dude, you've abandoned me. You're like, dude, I'm looking for houses. Dude, my kid's here. Like, what am I supposed to do?
You know, on that note, it's funny. David's like all pumped about moving across the country, and I'm literally just bought a house like 10 minutes down the road. I'm dreading moving to it. So he's like, "Yeah, we're ready to go across the country. My wife's done it." And I'm just like, "I'm moving down the street, and I don't want to do this."
It's easier. It's easier when you're childless. It's easier by a long shot.
That is fair. That is fair. But yeah, I actually will not be hijacking any streams for a little bit, Dashes. So I'm glad that Mike's joining you.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So.
Zach, whenever you have time, you have a home on Yavin Base, but
don't you dare steal him from me.
Hey man, it's fair game. It's no law against poaching.
All right. Well, good luck to everyone participating in Single Elims this week. And let's close this bad boy out. We are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
David.
And I'm Zach.
And we had John Bushfacts Bushman on, and we will see you next week. Stay fresh, cheese bags.